Oh hey there, this is Fruit Salad Social, and in this episode we're exploring Australia's best wine region, the Yarra Valley. To my American viewers, what if I told you yellowtail wine is probably the worst wine Australia makes, and that Australia actually has world-class wine regions that produce incredible wines that rival French competitors? And to my Australian viewers, yellowtail wine is sold in the US for under $10 and is the most readily available Australian wine in the American market. Most Americans have never heard of the incredible wine regions within Australia. These are wild statements, but all of them are true, and in this video I'm spending the day in the Yarra Valley near Melbourne and showing some of the wines besides yellowtail that you should try the next time you grab a bottle. So come along as we explore one of Australia's best wine regions. To kick things off, we were already staying in Melbourne, which was just named the best food city in the world. I made a vlog about our visit including all the incredible food we ate, but also the other things to do in Melbourne besides just eat. Be sure to check out that vlog and be sure to like and subscribe to the Fruit Salad Social YouTube channel for more travel and food content. We planned an entire day of our Melbourne visit around our Yarra Valley tour. If you go to Melbourne, absolutely you should book a Yarra Valley wine tour. It is a great day trip from Melbourne, and the wine region is one of the reasons they just got named the best food city in the world. If you are here just to see the wines and not learn about the logistics of booking a tour, skip ahead a few minutes, because to start things out, I'm going to explain what tour you should actually book and how to avoid getting scammed with wine tours out of Melbourne. Because yes, you absolutely can get scammed and end up walking half a mile in heels through a muddy vineyard if you book the wrong tour. I booked our tour through a company called Huberts as a hop-on, hop-off bus tour of the Yarra Valley. This is not sponsored by Huberts or anything like that, but I highly recommend booking this exact tour because the things we learned along the way. For starters, this is the most budget-friendly option for these tours. Your ticket is around 90 Australian dollars per person, and it only includes your bus ride. No wine tasting is included. The options that include wine tastings are usually well over $300 US per person if you book on Viator or something. Here's the kicker though, those wine tastings they claim are included in those tours are just the bus driver opening a bottle from the winery on the bus. You are not actually tasting those wines in the vineyard tasting rooms. They are buying the bottle super cheap at Dan Murphy's or something and then splitting it among the entire bus. There's no reason you should be charged $300 for that. Do not book one of those tours. I really lucked out by booking the one I did, because if you spend 95 Australian dollars on the hop-on, hop-off bus ticket and then budget around $100 for wine tastings at each vineyard, you're still not even close to the price that those tasting included tours are. Plus, you get to actually go in the vineyards, explore the tasting rooms, talk to the winemakers. You get way more than if you spend the $300 on the tasting included wine tours. And if you wanted a bit of tea on these, some of the $300 wine tours have actually been banned from some of the nicer vineyards like Chandon. So they will drop guests at the side of the road and not actually enter the vineyard, which means these people are hiking it into the vineyard, which is like half a mile away on a muddy road in heels and nice clothes, and they paid $300 to be hiking it through mud. For us, on the other hand, one of the Huberts owners named John was our actual tour guide and driver. Trust me, just book it with the Huberts company. They are wildly knowledgeable about the wine region and will drop you off right at the vineyard tasting room. John also gave us amazing recommendations on what wines to try at each stop. Seriously, this guy made sure we had the absolute best experience in the Yarra Valley. Book your tour through Huberts and avoid the scams. We specifically did the Red Yarra Valley route in this video. Alright, with my PSA about booking wine tours out of Melbourne and avoiding the scams done, we got picked up at the Melbourne Grand Hyatt for our Huberts bus tour and drove about 50 minutes to reach our first stop, the St. Huberts Vineyard. This was my favorite vineyard we went to all day. Unfortunately, I cannot remember if they use the French pronunciation or the English pronunciation of the name. It is either Saint Hubert or St. Huberts. Your tour guide will let you know before you go in so you don't look like an idiot. I might sound like an idiot this entire video because I cannot remember which way it's pronounced. I also cannot find someone clarifying it online. If you know how it's actually pronounced, please comment it on this video so no one else looks like an idiot. This vineyard is simply stunning and elegant. My boyfriend, who is Australian, did think it looked like the Teletubby house from one angle, which is true, but it's also a very nice and elegant vineyard. Our tasting here was so good. I think we tried about 8 different wines here. The real standout wine was the Blanc du Noir, which translates roughly to white from black. This is a white wine that's made with grapes typically used for a red wine. It is very unique and delicious. Definitely try this wine if you go to the vineyard. We also got to explore the art gallery, which was just amazing. The grounds of this estate are just beautiful as well. Truly, this vineyard has a special place in my heart. I don't think I will ever forget just how stunning it was. Now, if you want to get some St. Hubert's wine in the US, you can get what's called the Stag at most larger liquor stores. Based on what I've found online, this is a sub-brand of the Treasury Wine Estates, which is like the distributing company that owns the St. Hubert estate in Australia. Here is the one caveat though. The Stag that you can easily get in the US is actually a California wine. It does claim to use the spirit of Victorian winemaking in the production, but the grapes used in making that wine are from California. They are not going to have the distinct flavors that an Australian grape would have. There are some pluses and minuses to trying this wine though. Since it's produced in the US, this will be a budget-friendly wine to try. You can get this wine for around $15 in the US. That being said, it's still not an Australian wine. It is better than trying Yellowtail though, and is owned by an Australian company. I have tried this wine and it's lovely. It's not as nice as a true St. Hubert's wine. However, I have tried and simply cannot find a way to get true St. Hubert's wine in the US. The Stag is a great option for you to try though. You can also go find a Blanc de Noir from another winemaker to try something similar to what I had in the Yarra Valley. I would probably suggest that. You may be able to get an Australian label at your local liquor store. If not, a French or Californian Blanc de Noir is a great option to try. After enjoying the grounds at St. Hubert's, we then headed to the most glamorous estate on our tour, Domaine Chandon. And yes, I do know how this one is actually pronounced. Now, Chandon is a French wine label. The champagne out of France is called Moet, which you've probably heard of. This estate only makes sparkling wines, and any wine produced outside of France is sold as Chandon. There's a lot of debate, actually, if you should pronounce the T in Moet or if it should be Moet. Google that if you want a fun little side quest. I pronounce it Moet because the original owner is Dutch, and that is the Dutch pronunciation. Now, this estate is beautiful. Think rolling hills filled with mist, grapes, and occasionally kangaroos or wallabies. The tasting room here is so glamorous. This tasting room is just every sparkling wine girlie's fever dream. The wines here are also beautiful. We tasted 4 wines here and their tasting pours were very generous. I loved everything we tried. One thing I really appreciate about Chandon wines in general is they are not overly sweet, sparkling white wines. They have a depth to them. There is a really good flavor balance. This is not like drinking a cupcake wine. One of the wines really stood out to us here though, so much so that I bought a bottle to take back to my mom in the US. The Garden Spritz sparkling wine is a citrus-filled delight that is meant to be served on ice. I love this wine. It is so delicious. Australian Chandon can be purchased in the US. It's not necessarily easy to come by though. You can, however, try the Argentinian version of the Garden Spritz that I loved so much. I have tasted both, and unless you're a sommelier, you will not taste a difference between the Argentinian version and the Yarra Valley version, in my opinion. If you do want to try some sparkling wine for Australia, look for the Chook Sparkling White in your local liquor store. I've been able to find this wine in a few around me without really digging deep to find it. It is absolutely better than Yellowtail, and you should go find something new to try. You can also very easily try Californian Chandon in the US. This is available at any liquor store and is sold under the same name as the one made in Australia. The winehouse of Chandon has quite a high standard when it comes to what they produce. Any wine you try from Chandon is going to have a well-balanced flavor profile. After Chandon, we hopped back onto our bus and started heading towards the town of Healesville to try out Four Pillars Gin. Now, I know I said this was a wine tour, but Four Pillars Gin has won multiple awards for literally being the best gin in the world. Gin is also my boyfriend and I's favorite liquor, so we couldn't skip Four Pillars. At the distillery, we tried 4 different gins, with 2 of them being very memorable. You're supposed to sip gin by itself and then add the tonic that they provide to see how the flavor changes. At this point, we also chose to order some chips because we were starting to feel the 10 plus wines that we'd been trying. I will get this one out of the way. I hated the one that they said had turmeric in it. I think this was the Navy Strength gin. I took a tiny sip of the turmeric one and it felt like the hairs in my nose burned off as it went down. This was not the gin for me. I truly adore the Shiraz gin though. This one wins awards all the time and is just unique and delicious. This gin is purplish red and has been flavored with Shiraz grapes. Even if you're not a gin person, you might love this drink. And I have some great news for you. Four Pillars Gin, including the Shiraz gin, is super easy to get in the US. I have purchased a bottle of the Shiraz gin at my larger local liquor store. There are also multiple online sellers. If that's not available to you, the bottles are usually around $30 to $35 and so worth it. After going to Four Pillars Gin and eating some much needed chips, we waddled across the street to Payton and Jones for our next stop. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this was not my favorite winemaker we went to, but there's a really good chance I completely misordered here. Their staff came up to us asking what we would like, and at this point, I was a little wacky from everything we tried. At that point, they mentioned something about a wine that they said smelled like Vegemite or feet, and I was like, yeah, give me a whole glass of that one. My boyfriend is the only Australian I know who hates Vegemite, and he did not approve of this wine selection. They brought out the glass for us to split, and I just remember not loving this wine, and it was actually feet-like. I think it was a Verdelho wine, and honestly, I think I just completely misordered here. I had never had that type of wine before, and probably will not rush to try it again myself. I really don't think I gave Payton and Jones a fair chance by ordering such an odd specialty wine here. I am sure they make some delicious wines as well that fit more with my flavor palette. I have not been able to find this particular vineyard in the US at all, and they only ship within Australia. I'll give some more easy to get Australian wines at the end of the video though. After Payton and Jones, we were picked up by our tour guide and taken to the Giant Steps tasting room. Giant Steps was a wonderful stop on our tour. They have a central tasting room in Healesville, but own vineyards across the Yarra Valley. If you go here, you can enjoy wines grown in several different locations across the valley, which is super cool. I don't recall any single wine standing out from the tasting itself. Instead, I recall every single wine being very exceptional. The tasting here at Giant Steps was the most wine connoisseur-centric that we did. It's very much about finding the differences between the wines and exploring your own personal palate. These wines represent the Yarra Valley extremely well. And I have some wonderful news for you. This is the easiest wine we tried from the Yarra Valley to get in the US. You can easily order it online or potentially find it at a larger local liquor store with an Australian section. I have found some bottles for around $35 plus shipping. Definitely check what you're going to be charged for shipping though. There's probably a local liquor store near you that carries this wine if you don't want to pay for the shipping. If you truly want to taste what the Yarra Valley has to offer, this is the easiest wine to get within the US, and I do think it's much better of a representation for Australian wine than something like Yellowtail. And with that, we are done with the Fruit Salad Social Yarra Valley Wine Tour. If you're going to Melbourne, absolutely take one of these tours and seriously use the company Hop It to take one. It's a wonderful experience, and the Yarra Valley truly is a world-class wine region. And if traveling to a pretty niche wine region is not in the cards for you just yet, here are some recommendations for Australian wines to try. Not all of these are from the Yarra Valley, but they are all better than Yellowtail. To start things off, we have the two options options from the Yarra Valley, which are Giant Steps and Four Pillars Gin. These are easily available within the US. They are a mid-range price point, though. You might face the cost of import when purchasing these. These are coming from smaller companies, and importing any alcohol into the US can be very expensive for them. Please trust me when I tell you, though, it's worth the price, and both of these options are wonderful. Now, if you want something more budget-friendly, I have two options for you, one of which is my go-to favorite wine. I absolutely adore Killicanoon Shiraz and have been able to regularly find this Australian wine at several liquor stores. It's usually under $20. This wine is a great representation of Australian wine. And if you want something that is usually about the same price as Yellowtail but much more of a balanced wine, try Australian 19 Crimes wine. Don't buy the bottle with Snoop Dogg on the front, though. Not that Snoop's wine isn't good. His is specifically a Californian version of 19 Crimes wine. You want one of the bottles with an Australian convict on the front. 19 Crimes wine is owned by the same large estate that owns St. Huberts wine, actually. It's called Treasury Wine Estates. I do wish they would import the Australian St. Huberts more widely, but 19 Crimes is a good option for someone who just wants to see what Australian wine is all about for around $10. And with those recommendations, be sure to like and subscribe to the Fruit Salad Social YouTube channel for more travel and food content. I have 2 videos planned that you will love if you watched this. I have somehow convinced my Australian boyfriend, who much prefers to be behind the camera, to try all of the Yellowtail wines that they sell in the US with me. We are also going to do a similar separate video with the 19 Crimes wines, and we'll try Snoop's Californian ones along with the Australian ones. You won't want to miss these videos. They are going to be so much fun. I'll see you next time. Bye!